The first sensation Nora Winter felt was cold. Not the gentle chill of an autumn morning, but the bone-deep cold of space itself. Her eyes fluttered open to find herself suspended in a transparent chamber filled with silvery liquid, surrounded by tall, willowy figures moving with precise, calculated movements. The aliens, she knew instinctively that's what they were, had gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the harsh laboratory lights. Their elongated heads housed 4 eyes each, arranged in a diamond pattern, and their 6-fingered hands moved across holographic displays with practiced efficiency. Subject N-1274 shows increased neural activity, one of them announced in a voice that sounded like wine through crystal. Consciousness returning to optimal levels. Nora tried to move, but her limbs felt heavy, distant. Through the fluid surrounding her, she could make out more details of the laboratory: sleek, curved walls that seemed to pulse with their own inner light, and equipment that defied earthly physics, floating and rearranging itself without visible support. "Remarkable," said another alien, this one wearing what appeared to be a more elaborate version of their form-fitting uniforms. "The human female has survived the full treatment cycle. ZYX-427, begin final analysis." The memory of how she'd gotten here came in fragments, walking home from her night shift at the diner, a strange light in the sky, and then, nothing. Until now. The alien designated as ZYX-427 approached her chamber, its 4 eyes focusing and refocusing like camera lenses. Her genetic structure has been successfully modified. The cosmic energy integration is at 87%, far higher than any previous subject. Nora wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the silvery liquid filled her lungs. Yet somehow, she could breathe. As panic gave way to confusion, she noticed something else, a warmth growing in her chest, spreading through her body like liquid starlight. "Commander Vrel will be pleased," the lead alien said. "After 300 failed attempts, we have finally created a viable hybrid. The Confederation's plans can proceed." The warmth in Nora's chest intensified, becoming almost uncomfortable. With it came awareness. She could feel every molecule of the liquid surrounding her, could sense the energy flowing through the walls and equipment. Most disturbingly, she could feel the aliens themselves, their life force pulsing like pale stars in her mind. "Warning," an automated voice echoed through the laboratory. "Subject's energy signature exceeding expected parameters." ZYX-427 moved closer to the chamber, its elongated fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Impossible. The reading suggests she's accessing the cosmic energy consciously. That shouldn't be possible for at least." The rest of its sentence was lost as the warmth in Nora's chest exploded outward. The silvery liquid began to boil, and cracks appeared in the transparent chamber. The aliens moved with sudden urgency, their previously calm demeanor shattered. "Containment failing," one shouted. "Emergency protocols." The chamber shattered, and Nora fell to the floor, coughing out the last of the liquid. But she didn't feel weak or disoriented as she should have. Instead, power coursed through her veins like lightning, and when she looked at her hands, faint lines of light pulsed beneath her skin. "Restrain the subject," the lead alien ordered, but Nora acted on instinct. She reached out toward the nearest piece of floating equipment and found she could feel its energy signature. With a thought, she sent it flying across the room, creating a barrier between herself and her captors. Alarms blared as more aliens rushed into the laboratory. Through the chaos, Nora caught fragments of their panicked communications. "Contact Commander Vrel. Project compromised. Terminate the subject." But Nora wasn't about to let that happen. The power within her responded to her fear and determination, creating a visible aura of shifting light around her body. Equipment began to orbit around her like satellites around a planet, and the aliens backed away, their 4 eyes wide with what she recognized as fear. "What did you do to me?" she demanded, her voice raw but steady. The words came out in both English and a language she'd never heard before but somehow understood, the common tongue of the Confederation. Fascinating, ZYX for 27 said, seemingly more intrigued than frightened. The integration is complete. She's become more than we intended. The lead alien activated some kind of communication device. Commander Vrel, the experiment has evolved. The human female has full access to the cosmic energy. We await your orders. A deep voice responded, sending chills down Nora's spine. Contain her at all costs. The future of the Confederation depends on it. As security forces began pouring into the laboratory, Nora realized she had a choice to make. She could surrender, become their experiment again, or she could fight. The power within her surged in response to her thoughts, and in that moment, Nora Winter, former waitress, current fugitive, and apparently successful test subject, made her decision. The laboratory erupted in chaos as she unleashed her newfound powers, and somewhere in the back of her mind, she wondered if this was what they had intended all along. But those questions would have to wait. Right now, she had to survive. The corridors of the research station twisted like a labyrinth, their bioluminescent walls pulsing with warning lights as Nora ran. Behind her, the sound of pursuit echoed, the rhythmic footsteps of security forces and the high-pitched whine of their energy weapons. She rounded a corner, her bare feet silent against the metallic floor, the strange power within her guiding her movements. It was as if she could sense the layout of the station, feel the energy flowing through its systems like blood through veins. Block all exits in Section 7, a voice commanded over the station's communication system. The subject must not reach the docking bay. Nora smiled grimly. They'd just told her exactly where she needed to go. A squad of security forces appeared ahead, their armor gleaming under the emergency lights. They raised their weapons, but Nora was faster. With a gesture, she sent a wave of energy that lifted them off their feet and pinned them against the ceiling. Fascinating, a familiar voice said behind her. Your control over the cosmic energy exceeds our highest projections. Nora turned to find ZYX for 27 standing there, its 4 eyes studying her with that same clinical interest. Unlike the others, it showed no fear. Why did you do this to me? Nora demanded, cosmic energy crackling around her hands. Because humanity has potential, ZYX for 27 replied. Potential that the Confederation fears. We believed we could harness it, control it. We were wrong. More security forces were approaching. Nora could feel them converging from multiple directions. The docking bay, ZYX for 27 said quickly. Take the maintenance shaft 3 corridors down. It will lead you there. It hesitated, then added, find Talon in the outer rim. He can help you understand what you've become. Before Nora could respond, the alien pressed something into her hand, a small crystalline device, then turned and ran, calling out to the approaching forces about pursuing her in the opposite direction. Nora didn't waste time wondering about the alien's motives. She found the maintenance shaft exactly where ZYX for 27 had indicated and climbed inside. The shaft was narrow, filled with pulsing cables and humming machinery, but her newfound powers helped her navigate through the darkness. She emerged into the docking bay, a vast chamber filled with vessels of various sizes. Her heart sank as she saw the heavy security presence, at least 30 armed guards and several automated defense turrets. Attention all personnel, Commander Vrel's voice boomed through the station. The human subject has been contaminated by unauthorized exposure to cosmic energy. She must be terminated to prevent compromise of the project. Authorization for lethal force granted. The guards opened fire, their energy weapons filling the air with deadly plasma bolts. Nora threw up her hands instinctively, and a barrier of shimmering energy formed around her. Each impact made the barrier flash, but it held. Through the chaos, something caught her attention, a small, sleek vessel near the bay doors, its engines already humming with power. At its entrance stood a figure unlike any alien she'd seen so far. Tall and muscular, with scaled skin and predatory features, wearing what looked like battle-worn armor. The figure caught her eye and nodded toward the ship. An invitation? Or another trap? A massive explosion rocked the station. Through the observation windows, Nora saw other ships appearing out of nowhere, engaging the station's defenses. A diversion? She made her decision. Using her power, she lifted herself off the ground and flew across the docking bay, deflecting weapons fire as she went. The scaled alien waited until she was close, then pulled her inside the ship just as the bay doors began to close. "Cut it a bit close there, human," the alien said in a gravelly voice. "Name's Talon. Your friend ZYX paid me a lot to be here, so let's make it worth the trouble." The ship detached from the station and shot into space, weaving through debris and weapons fire. Nora watched through a viewport as the massive research station grew smaller, its sleek form now marred by explosions. "They'll chase us," she said, clutching the crystal device ZYX-427 had given her. Talon's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Let them try. This ship's got a few surprises. But first, we need to talk about what they did to you, and why the most powerful organization in the galaxy is suddenly terrified of one human girl." The ship accelerated, its engines flaring as it prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel. Nora felt the cosmic energy within her respond to the ship's power, creating patterns of light beneath her skin. "The Confederation made a mistake," she said, watching the stars blur around them. "They wanted to control humanity's potential. Instead, they set it free." As the ship disappeared into FTL, alarms were blaring in the Confederation's highest chambers. The experiment hadn't just failed, it had succeeded far beyond their worst fears. And Nora Winter, once just another human test subject, had become something unprecedented, proof that humanity could no longer be contained. The rebel base was nothing like Nora had imagined. Instead of a hidden fortress or underground bunker, it was a sprawling settlement inside a massive asteroid, its interior carved into soaring caverns filled with gardens, living quarters, and what appeared to be training grounds. Bioluminescent plants cast everything in a soft, ethereal glow. "Welcome to Haven," Talon said as they walked through the main cavern. "Home to everyone who's ever told the Confederation to go to hell." Aliens of various species moved through the spaces, some humanoid, others completely foreign to anything Nora could have imagined. What struck her most was how they worked together, their movements coordinated and purposeful. "Your friend ZYX said someone here could help me understand what's happening to me," Nora said, watching the cosmic energy shimmer beneath her skin. It had grown stronger during their journey, responding to her emotions in unpredictable ways. Talon nodded. "That would be Echo. She leads the resistance here. She's different. You'll see." They approached a circular chamber near the heart of the asteroid. Inside, a figure sat in meditation, hovering several feet off the ground. At first, Nora thought she was looking at a hologram. Echo's form seemed to shift and flow like liquid starlight, only occasionally settling into a more solid appearance. "I've been waiting for you, Nora Winter," Echo said, her voice resonating not just in Nora's ears but in her mind. The resistance leader opened her eyes, they were like looking into the depths of space itself. "The cosmic energy within you calls to its own. You're like me?" Nora asked, stepping forward. "No," Echo smiled. "You are something new." The Confederation sought to manipulate human potential, to create weapons they could control. Instead, they accidentally tapped into something ancient, something that has been waiting for the right vessel. The chamber's walls began to glow, displaying what looked like star maps and complex equations. "Humanity is young compared to most species in the galaxy," Echo continued, "but you carry within you echoes of the universe's first light. The Confederation's experiments didn't create your power, they merely awakened what was already there." "In every human?" Nora asked. "To varying degrees. Your species evolved on a world bathed in unusual cosmic radiation, absorbing it generation after generation. The potential exists in all of you, but you, Nora, are the first to fully manifest it. Talon, who had been quietly watching, spoke up. That's why the Confederation is so afraid. They've spent millennia maintaining their power through technological superiority. The idea of an entire species with innate cosmic abilities. They'll try to eliminate humanity before more can awaken, Nora realized, her power flaring with her anger. Yes, Echo said. Unless we stop them. But first, you must learn to fully control your abilities. The cosmic energy responds to your will, but it also has a will of its own. Balance is essential. Over the next several weeks, Nora trained with Echo and other resistance members. She learned to channel her power with precision, to communicate across vast distances, to manipulate energy and matter in ways that defied conventional physics. But more importantly, she learned about the resistance itself. They were a coalition of species who believed in freedom and cooperation, who had seen their own worlds fall under Confederation control. Among them were scientists, warriors, former slaves, and even reformed Confederation officials who had discovered the truth and switched sides. One evening, as Nora practiced energy manipulation with Echo, the Resistance leader shared a crucial piece of information. The Confederation's leadership is preparing something unprecedented, a device capable of suppressing the cosmic potential in all human DNA. They plan to use it on Earth first, then hunt down any human colonies or settlements throughout the galaxy. How long do we have? Nora asked, maintaining her concentration on the complex energy pattern she was weaving. Their weapon will be ready in 3 standard months. We must be ready before then. Echo's form flickered with concern. But you're not the only one growing stronger, Nora. The same energy that flows through you exists in others, waiting to be awakened. And not all of them will be found by friends. As if in response to Echo's words, alarms began blaring throughout Haven. Talon burst into the chamber, his scales dark with concern. Confederation forces have found us. A massive fleet just dropped out of FTL, led by Commander Vrel himself. Echo rose, her form solidifying. Then the time for preparation is over. Are you ready, Nora? Nora looked at her hands, watching the cosmic energy dance beneath her skin. She thought of Earth, of all the humans who didn't yet know the power they carried within them, of the Confederation's plans to ensure they never would. Her power responded to her resolve, filling the chamber with golden light. I'm ready, she said. But we're not just going to defend Haven. It's time the Confederation learned that humanity isn't their experiment anymore, we're their reckoning. The resistance base erupted into activity as warriors and pilots rushed to their positions. In orbit above them, the Confederation fleet moved into attack formation, their weapons charging. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin, and Nora Winter, once just another human test subject, stood ready to lead the charge. The battle for Haven began in silence. In the void of space, hundreds of Confederation warships hung like predatory sharks, their weapons arrays glowing with charged energy. Facing them was the much smaller Resistance fleet, a mix of modified civilian vessels and salvaged military ships. From the command center deep within Haven, Nora watched the tactical displays with Echo and Talon. The cosmic energy within her roiled with anticipation, responding to the tension in the room. Confederation ships are launching fighters, Talon reported, his scaled hands moving across the holographic controls. They're testing our defenses. Let them come, Echo said, her form shimmering with barely contained power. We've prepared for this moment. Nora, are you ready to show them what you've learned? Nora nodded, closing her eyes to focus on the energy flowing through her. During her training, she discovered she could extend her power far beyond her physical form, creating networks of cosmic energy that could connect and enhance others. It was time to put that ability to the test. All Resistance fighters, prepare for Neural Link, Echo announced over the command channel. Nora will serve as the focal point. Remember your training. Nora reached out with her power, feeling the minds of the Resistance pilots. Many were former slaves or refugees who had suffered under Confederation rule. Their determination and courage flowed into her, strengthening the connection. Through their eyes, she could see every angle of the approaching battle. The first wave of Confederation fighters struck like a meteor shower, their energy weapons lighting up the void. But the Resistance ships moved with unprecedented coordination, their movements perfectly synchronized through Nora's neural network. What should have been a devastating first strike instead met an impenetrable defense. Impressive, a familiar voice cut through all communications channels. Commander Vrel's hologram appeared in the command center, his metallic face impossible to read. But surely you understand the futility of this resistance. Submit now, and perhaps we can reach an accommodation. Like the accommodation you offered Earth? Nora stepped forward, letting her power become visible. We know about the suppression device you're building. Your plans to erase humanity's potential. Potential? Vrel's laugh was like grinding metal. You are an accident, child. A flaw in the cosmic order that must be corrected. The power you wield was never meant for such primitive beings. You're wrong, Echo interjected, her form solidifying. The cosmic energy chose humanity. It responds to their capacity for growth, for change. Something your Confederation forgot long ago in its quest for control. The battle intensified above them. Through the neural network, Nora felt every victory and loss, every moment of triumph and pain. The Resistance fighters were outnumbered but fighting with everything they had. Suddenly, Nora felt something through her connection, a familiar presence. ZWX, she whispered. The alien scientist's voice came through clearly. I've infiltrated Vrel's command ship. The suppression device prototype is here. He plans to test it on Haven. Talon growled. If that device works, it won't just affect Nora. Every human in Haven will be. Then we strike now, Echo declared. Nora, you know what must be done. Nora did know. They had discussed this possibility during her training, a desperate plan that would either save them all or fail spectacularly. Through the neural network, she began gathering energy not just from herself, but from every connected mind, every ship's power core, even the cosmic background radiation that permeated space itself. What are you doing? Vrel demanded, his hologram flickering as power fluctuations rippled through both fleets. Showing you what humanity's potential really means, Nora replied. The energy building within her was beyond anything she'd ever attempted to control. It felt like trying to contain a star in her bare hands. Echo moved to support her, lending her own power to the effort. Remember, Nora. The energy has a will of its own. Don't try to control it, guide it. Through the neural network, Nora could feel the support of every Resistance fighter, their collective will focusing through her like light through a lens. In that moment, she understood what Echo had been trying to teach her. The cosmic energy wasn't a weapon to be wielded, but a force of nature to be channeled. She opened herself to it completely, becoming a conduit for something vast and ancient. Energy erupted from her in waves, washing over both fleets. But instead of destruction, it carried awakening. On every ship, in every mind it touched, something stirred. Humans among the Resistance felt their own latent powers beginning to surface. Even some non-humans felt a connection to the cosmic energy they'd never known existed. Impossible, Vrel's hologram sputtered. The calculations, the projections. Were wrong, Nora completed, her voice resonating with power. You tried to control this power, to weaponize it. But it was never meant to be contained. It was meant to be shared. Through her connection to the neural network, she could feel the tide of battle turning. The awakened humans were discovering their abilities, turning the Resistance fleet into something far more formidable than mere ships and weapons. But victory was not yet assured. Vrel's command ship was preparing to deploy the suppression device, and Nora could feel her strength beginning to wane. The next few moments would determine not just the fate of Haven, but the future of humanity itself. The void of space lit up like a newborn star as Nora's power reached its peak. Through the neural network, she could feel everything: the awakening humans discovering their abilities, the resistance fighters pressing their advantage, and deep within Vrel's command ship, ZYX-427 racing against time to reach the suppression device. "The device is charging," ZYX's voice came through the network. "Once activated, its effects will be irreversible." Nora turned to Echo, whose form was now almost solid, anchored by the cosmic energy flowing through the command center. "I have to get to that ship." "It's suicide," Talon growled, his scales darkening with concern. "Even with your powers." "I won't be alone," Nora interrupted. Through the neural network, she could feel others volunteering, newly awakened humans ready to risk everything, resistance fighters who had been waiting for this moment. Echo nodded, understanding. "The resistance fleet will create a breach in their defenses." "But Nora." Her star-filled eyes met Nora's. "The suppression device was built using corrupted cosmic energy. Confronting it directly could destroy you." "Or set everyone free," Nora replied, remembering what Echo had taught her about the energy's true nature. "Sometimes the only way forward is through." The plan came together with desperate speed. As the resistance fleet concentrated its fire on a single point in the Confederation's formation, Nora and a small team of fighters launched from Haven. Through their shared connection, they moved as one, their ships weaving through the chaos of battle like threads through a tapestry. Commander Vrel's voice boomed across all channels: "You cannot stop what we've set in motion. The cosmic energy belongs to those who can control it, not to primitive beings who." His transmission cut off as Nora's team breached his ship's defenses, their combined powers tearing through shields that had been designed to repel conventional weapons. They landed in a secondary hangar, and the real fight began. Confederation forces swarmed them, but they were unprepared for what humanity had become. Each human in Nora's team now glowed with their own cosmic energy, using abilities that ranged from energy manipulation to matter transformation. The ship's corridors became a battlefield of light and power. "The device is in the central chamber," ZYX communicated through the network. "But Vrel is waiting for you. He's changed himself." They found the central chamber sealed behind massive doors, but these were no barrier to their combined power. As the doors melted away, Nora saw what ZYX meant. Commander Vrel stood before the suppression device, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with dark energy. But he was no longer the purely mechanical being she remembered. He had integrated corrupted cosmic energy into his form, turning himself into a twisted mockery of what humanity had naturally become. "You see," his voice resonated with artificial power. "This is true control. True mastery." "This is fear," Nora replied, stepping forward as her team engaged Vrel's guards. "You're so afraid of losing control that you've become exactly what you claim to despise, a force of chaos." The battle that followed defied conventional physics. Vrel's corrupted power clashed with Nora's pure cosmic energy, reality itself buckling around them. Through the neural network, she could feel the entire resistance lending her their strength, their collective will becoming a shield against Vrel's onslaught. But the suppression device was still charging, its dark energy beginning to pulse outward. Nora could feel it trying to smother the cosmic energy within her, within all of them. She had only moments to act. "You don't understand what you're fighting for," Vrel snarled, his form shifting between mechanical and energy states. "The cosmic energy must be controlled, contained." "No," Nora said, finally understanding what she had to do. "It needs to be set free." Instead of fighting the suppression device's pull, she opened herself to it completely. But this time, she wasn't just channeling the cosmic energy, she was offering her own humanity, her own capacity for growth and change. Through the neural network, others followed her lead, creating a cascade of pure potential. The suppression device's dark energy met this wave of pure cosmic power, and for a moment, everything hung in perfect balance. Then Nora felt it, the device itself was awakening, responding to the collective will of humanity just as the cosmic energy had. Impossible, Vrel whispered, his corrupted form beginning to unravel. The device's crystal structure began to transform, its dark energy converting to pure cosmic force. The wave of power that followed wasn't one of suppression, but of awakening, spreading out through the fleet, through the galaxy itself. In that moment of transformation, Nora saw through the neural network what was happening across known space. On Earth and every human settlement, people were awakening to their potential. But it wasn't just humans, other species were discovering their own connections to the cosmic energy, different but complementary. When the light faded, Vrel was gone, his corrupted form burned away by pure cosmic energy. The Confederation fleet hung silent in space, their crews forever changed by what they had witnessed. In Haven's command center, Echo smiled as she watched the tactical displays showing Confederation ships retreating. "It's not just a victory," she said. "It's a new beginning." Nora looked at her hands, where the cosmic energy still danced beneath her skin, but now felt more natural, more complete. Through the neural network, she could feel others learning to use their abilities, starting to understand their place in the cosmic dance. "What happens now?" Talon asked, his scales shimmering with reflected energy. "We rebuild," Nora said, thinking of Earth, of all the awakened humans who would need guidance, of the chance to create something new from the ashes of the old order. "But this time, we do it together." The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if responding to the change that had swept through the galaxy. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, it had emerged transformed, ready to take its place among the cosmic forces that shaped existence itself. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, new stories were already beginning, as countless beings awakened to the power that had always existed within them, waiting for the moment when fear would give way to understanding, and control would yield to harmony.